sterling dollar. I'm just wondering if there is a surprise that this is going to shock the market, and I'm wondering if I actually want to take a first bar negative, or do I just sell short upon close in 15 seconds? I'm shorting the FTSE here at 68. I got filled at 103.67.6. I'm going to have a stop loss at 103.92.6. So this is me going contrary and just making a call. I may have completely read that wrong. We will see. You'll see that the FTSE closed the gap. Apologies, I'm eating a little bit. So this is going to be an interesting play. Would have caused a reaction. I'm going to delete in the FTSE, I think, and I'm just wondering. This is sterling dollar. I'm just wondering if there is a surprise that this is going to shock the market, and I'm wondering if I actually want to take a first bar negative, or do I just sell short upon close in 15 seconds? I'm shorting the FTSE here at 68. A bearish 15-minute candle, because I did research on when does first bar negative fail. First bar negative fails if you have bought on the first bar negative on a 5-minute, but then the 15-minute close is negative, then there's a tendency for the it significantly decreases the odds of first bar negative actually working. So I'm shorting the FTSE again here, doubling up. Let's see how that goes. At 103.60. Excuse me. So this is what it looks like on my account. So far, this has been a good decision. Whether it was the 50% that held or it is the political situation, well, that's anybody's guess, isn't it? The DAX early indication is a trading range. First bar negative, second bar positive, and now third bar negative. You can do a little symbol. Say, okay, are we going to hold this line here, which is the 41 halfway? Probably not. That works better if it's a trending market. This is range bound, but a little early to say that it's range bound when we are only 3 bars into the trading session. Oopsie doopsie. So we've gone 10 points below the low of bar 1. And that reminds me, where am I? There we go. That's better. So bar 1, 2, and 3 are largely overlap bars. So my small add-on is now 10 points offside. So now my position overall is actually losing me. What that means is that if I had been a buyer at below bar 1, which is what the first bar negative calls for, I would have been in positive momentarily. You look at a 1-minute chart and it's quite clear that there's no direction. That 103.34 is a bit of an odd one because it's 25 points from the lower bar 1. So why there? Well, because that's my normal stop loss. And normally if it doesn't work, I would get stopped out for a full whack. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe I should use that as my projection, at least the initial one. So double bottom. Will it hold? Breaking. New lows. Now trading at 50. DAX doing nothing. Swapping over to a 5-minute chart. And you'll see that we got pre-market bear candle, market, bear candle, bear candle, bear candle. So we're 20 minutes into the trading session. The 15-minute bar in the DAX suggests lower prices. The 10-minute long pin bar, but no follow through. So somebody here called Shipend, I don't know, SHPEND, has asked me, UK 100 first was a buy signal. What is the reason for the short? So, as I explained a little earlier, the political landscape in the United Kingdom is uncertain this morning, and there's growing pressure on the existing Prime Minister to resign. And the incumbent, is somebody who the bond market doesn't necessarily favor, which is why I'm keeping an eye on sterling dollar. And as you can see, the sterling, the British pound has been weakening, and in particular in last week. And so I'm wondering, with the rhetoric that took place over the weekend, I followed the British media. I'm thinking, I wonder if the FTSE would suffer as a result of this as well. And that's why I decided not to take the first bar negative sell. So you can say that it was one of those cases where I took a fundamental decision. I want to be careful not to get too aggressive, because I am dancing on unfamiliar territory. Bar 1, 2, and 3 on the 10-minute in the DAX so far is suggesting a trading range. Mo is saying that the FTSE is driven by commodity stocks, not politics. Maybe. I'll probably dispute that a little bit, what that person just said. I am, if nothing, not a curious man. So I think I will dispute what Mo just said. Financials makes up 26%, consumers about 15%, healthcare 15%, and energy and industrial. So Rio Tinto, about 3% weighting. But anyway, you can see that for yourself here. So this is for you, Mo. I don't know how up to date this is. That's the one thing I would perhaps question. But anyway, not looking for an argument, just respectfully say I disagree. So we're coming up to school run. So bar 1 so far has captured the entirety of the next 5 bars. Bar 2 inside 1, bar 3 inside 2 and 1, bar 4 inside 3, 2 and 1. Bar 5 is actually the one that sort of attempting but failed. And now bar 6. Can you imagine Al Brooks running a commentary on this? Wouldn't that be fun? I trust you got my notes that I won't be here as much. So, school run, my God, please let that happen in China. Been a long ride there. My FTSE position is now losing me. Swapping over to a 1 minute chart so I can get a more granular look at it. Bugger. Okay, so we got a school run breakout coming here. So the high is 71. So please stand by. Wow, FTSE is now well and truly motoring higher. I'm buying the DAX here on a school run long. $103.70. Sorry, not 103. 25.070. I placed my stop loss. Actually, my stop loss should be down here, around 33. Do you know what? I'm going to reduce my stake size in the DAX. I've closed half. I'll get you the exact number. Yeah, I closed for -20, half of it. This is such a range-bound market. I don't think I want to have a big position. Come on. Looks like the FTSE is also displaying somewhat range-bound price action. So FTSE sort of oscillates between making me 2,000 and losing me 2,000. Looks like it's attempting again. I'm going to close my DAX, take my loss. I'm thinking I'm just stuck in a range-bound market, and that stop loss is almost certain to be triggered. I had a stop loss down here. What you have to appreciate is that bar 2 is actually the trigger for school run short, and I had a stop loss just down there. Oop. And I felt I'm gonna get triggered on that. I probably would like to sell short the DAX, but on a smaller size. So shorted the DAX school run short at 25.032. I'm going to post it, but I'm going to post it as a short, oops, that was the wrong direction. Oopsie, doopsie, sorry about that. $25.032. 25.112. So this is a fair and square school run short. I'll move my stop loss, risking about 40 points. But I have decreased my trading size. I would go full trading size if I see us trade below bar 1, because then I would bet on a gap fill. I'm going to ease off on some of this FTSE. Let me just check the DAX here. I'll add to the DAX again, same size, a little defensive. Yeah. 25019. 25099. So let's look at this. Is this going to break or not? I'm going to close the last and the second last. Okay, so I've closed a bit of FTSE. It looks weak, but it's somewhat range bound. You know what? I will close the second last and then I'll put stop loss to break even on the first entry. Okay, so I'll add to my DAX. So we're trading below bar 1 now. That's positive for us. That was not a bad decision to ease on the FTSE. You know, I think I'll close the FTSE, closed all of FTSE. Okay, adding a little bit more to the DAX down here at the lows of 3. We're testing 25,000. Coming down to gap fill. Fuck me. You know, I put a little bit of a short on in the FTSE here, just a tiny little bit. Just want to have a bit of a reference point. I hope you gentlemen and ladies are okay. No, Camille. I go by the CNBC closing prices. This price that you're seeing here, that is the closing price on the stock exchange in Frankfurt. It's got nothing to do with the futures market, okay? It's just I get the official stock exchange data. You're welcome. Nice call on the phishing technique target last week. You are welcome. Just curious, how does your software treat as a gap fill? No, my software doesn't do. This is the close on Friday. I mean, you can look at it pragmatically, but here's the closing bar here. And so around here, this is where the stock exchange, if I get rid of all the lines, can I get rid of all the lines? There we go. Yeah, so this is where it closes. We shouldn't be having this conversation at all. You should be able to just go to Reuters or CNBC or whatever your news outlet is. Yeah? If you're on a 400% position, how about your emotions? Is it the same level like an 100% position? No. I'm like a shark. if I have a 400% position, it's because I smell blood. You guys sending me some strange messages about gaps. Okay, I think I need to give you guys a little lesson in gaps. Okay, because you are living in the land of overnight. Okay, so here goes. This is the DAX. Ignore all my scribbles and my homework. Let's get rid of that. You don't need to see all of that. So this is DAX on Friday. Yeah. And the closing price in the DAX on Friday was down here. Now the DAX opened up here. Yeah. And since then, we traded down here. That's a gap fill in the cash market. The futures market is driven by what the stocks are doing in the cash market. It's not the futures market that drives the stocks. So when we open up here, down here is a gap fill. And for all intents and purposes, the gap has been filled. I'm shorting the FTSE again, just a little bit. I'm not going to put that on Telegram because it's just a little bit. So we went as low as 90, 88, and the gap fill is 85. This is why I have an e-signal charging package. I wonder if it will update. See, this is a delayed charging package because, I'm too stingy to buy the real-time package because I trade off the broker's charge anyway. Just putting some sell orders just in case. Yes, okay, Beate. Happy to help you. So we got a gap fill now. Strange market. I'm going to close some of these DAX positions. I am, after all, here to make money, not anything else. Oh my God, I am achy this morning. Okay. Hi Tom, hope you're having a good day. I'm curious about your general view on tick charts versus time-based charts for reading price action. Oh, oh. um, I used to trade with tick charts. Whatever you can, you guys, when you write to me, you know, don't just don't do an Andy on me and just have your moniker, because then I'm gonna call you these weird names like your name is C apostrophe ED. Yes. I used to trade with tick charts, and I don't think I had anything against them except that perhaps I was trading at a frequency that didn't quite suit me. All right. Okay. Somebody called S, just S. Haha. Multi-million trader, too stinky to pay for trading data. I need to get that to that level of. You have to explain to me what Dagobert duckism is. That some kind of, is that what we call Scrooge McDuck? Um, yes, because You know Scrooge Van Scrooge McDuck. Yeah, Scrooge McDuck. You know, the Disney character. In Denmark, we actually called him Joachim von Duck. Please write to me what Scrooge McDuck is called in your respective countries. And in case you are not sure who I'm talking about, Scrooge McDuck. So this is this is why are we getting into this? This is Scrooge McDuck. So what is Scrooge McDuck called in your country? All right, so Camille is called Skineris McQuarts. Are you serious? In Norwegian, it's Uncle Skrue, and Skrue is also what you put into a wall, but it's also somebody who can be a little difficult to deal with. oh, we're having fun tonight. Okay, could you also tell me what country you're from? So I think Oscar is from South Africa, and there he's called Joachim van Anka. And I guess Anka is a duck, Oscar. And Catnip, I think Catnip is from, are you from Holland, Catnip? Netherlands, yeah. Okay, it's there it's called Dagobert Duck. Yeah, yeah. I like the simple pleasures of Daffy Duck. That's actually quite funny. This, I don't know. Oh, I'm so tired. Sometimes I'm so easily distracted when the market isn't. This is Daffy Duck, not to be confused with Uncle Scrooge. Not related. Yeah, my name is Ducky Duck. I'm a duck. Okay. I think in Dutch is yeah, Dagobert Duck. In Slovakia, are you serious? It's called Strugo de Sruskergros. In Bulgaria, it's yeah, I can't do that. I'm gonna give up. In Brazil, it's Tio Pantijas. Well, isn't this cute? In Poland, it's in Poland it is Penny Pincher McQuack. But it actually is Scrooners McQuads. Wow. We are getting a cultural eye-opener here today, aren't we? I love this one from Poland. In Poland, it's Penny Pincher McQuack. Okay, in Italy, it's Paparone de Paparoni. You see, I'm thinking pizza here. In Syria, it's called Duck the Immigrant. No, apparently that's made up. Ah, yes. In Indonesia, they call him Paman Goba, as in Uncle Goba. In Latvian, it's Knaps Makdaks. Are you serious? You. Oh, nobody's gonna believe me unless I post this. This is in Latvian. Look at it. Knaps Makdaks. Who the fuck came up with that? Ja, guten Tag. Mein Name ist Knaps Makdaks. Oh, that's just too much on a Monday morning. Oh, this Knuts. Oh, God, Yes, thank you so much. You made my morning. It's just the best. They actually, they actually posted a copy image here. Oh, all right, Knapsman ducks. That's just gorgeous. And he looks so happy there. Like, instead of this grumpy fellow over here. Yeah, look how happy he is over here. Okay. In Finland, it's Aku Anka. In Bosnia and the former Yugoslavia, it's Paja Patak. Well, well, well. Thank you for your contributions. You made me giggle. Hey. I'm gonna try and salvage this session, so it just has a modicum of professionalism to it. Perhaps not the worst idea in the world to cut the FTSE, and to cut the DAX long also seemed to be a relatively good decision. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you're just the best, all of you. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. David, who says, haha, Tom, I wasn't in the mood of laughing, but this morning you just made me laugh to a crying state. Yeah. Well, isn't that the best? Isn't that the best laughter when you just cry? Yeah, I suppose I should be more professional. The halfway line would be down here at 24,968. Oops. Sterling is certainly weakening, huh? Traders are betting. Disney has a new contender for Scrooge McDuck. Someone sent that. Someone has just sent that in to me. I don't know. I think I prefer good old Scrooge. Or as we shall now know him forever and ever, he is Knaps McDucks. Yeah. Hello. Name's Knaps. Knaps McDucks. Guess stop loss could be a break even, couldn't it? Yeah. Fantastic. So technically speaking, the DAX retraced half of the range of Friday. Gap has been filled. Now I have mapped out halfway line between the low, overnight low, and the current high, which come in here around 70. Current trading at 73. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not a big position I got going here. So I think I'll take my profit, closed it, and then I will post my transaction history. So there you go. All closed positions this morning. We started at 112,000, I think. Let's have a look. 112,700 minus 500, so about 112,200, and now there's 114,400. So a decent session. And I laughed myself to tears. So what more can one ask for, huh? Would you like would you like to do some Q&A? Oh, there's a question here. That I think, let's get rid of these. Tom, you've been trading for almost 30 years. Can you tell me how the market has changed over the years? Yes, I do. And you know what? There's I did some work over the weekend. I'd like to show you what I did. 1 second. It's actually a really, really good question. So what you're seeing here is the DAX. And it looks like any old DAX chart, right? But it isn't, because this is the DAX when the DAX was trading at 5,000, and it was back in 2010, which is the furthest back that I could go. And I tried to do some research on if school run was profitable in 15 years ago, because 15 years ago, I wasn't trading using a school run. I traded different ways. But the ranges were obviously much smaller. You know, for example, this move here to here, well, that's from to 5,500, from 5,460. So this move here is just 40 points. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a 5-minute chart. And so this is school run, where you bracket. You can do the same. You just have to bracket bar 4, 5, and 6, and that's what I've done. So it triggers along here and goes down and goes up. But you know, at best, school run would have made you 4 points, right? And if you took the ante, you probably, with a bit of luck, you would have made 5 or 10 points. The most it would have gone your way was 20 points. So you tell me. Let me give you a couple of more examples. Let me show you the next day. So here's the DAX again the following day. And here I'm mapping out the school run as well. 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. Do you see it does a fake school run here? There. And then it rallies 10 points, 20 points, 30 points, 35 points. DAX rallies. So I suppose if I was going to answer your question, which was, has the market changed? Yeah, they most certainly have. I'd say that it's a lot easier to trade the DAX at 25,000 than it is at 5,000. And I think, yeah, I wonder, how did I trade the DAX back then? But it's so long ago, I don't really remember. Would you like to see one more? I'll show you the following day. So here's the DAX the following day. So now it must be the 10th, sorry. So this is the 10th of Feb, 2010. And I mapped out the third. So this bar 3, 4, and 5, which makes up the school run bar for the 15, this, and this. And you see again how it gives a fake signal. And it gives basically also a fake out signal here. And I'll do one more, because it's fun to go down memory lane. So here's the DAX again. So this would be the 11th of Feb, 2010. I seem to recall I drew lines. Yeah, I used to draw lines. I don't know how that worked out for me, because 2010 and 11 were not easy years for me. I had left the corporate world and I traded for myself. I think you have it easier today trading the DAX at 25,000 than I did at 5,000. So here's school run again. So bar 4, bar 5, bar 6. It gives a breakout signal here, where you can see there's not big point counts. There's at 10 points. Here the school run short would have given you a bit of joy to begin with, and then a long sideways. And then more selling. So there you go. I hope that answers it a little bit, but I think these charts, they sum up well what it was like to trade 15 years ago. Okay, Camille is saying, have you ever tried yerba mate? I don't drink anything but water, basically, and kombucha. So I haven't tried yerba. And I'm actually one of those rare people in the world who's 56 years old and I've never tasted coffee. Camille is saying, may I ask a question related to the Dow 2015 trade? I wonder what made you change approach and hold the runner at the time. I recall you mentioned up to this point that you had okay results, but not groundbreaking, unless I'm wrong. Yes, I think I will. Let's get rid of this. So 2015 was a year where I had a mentor of sort, and this mentor inspired me to hold positions longer. And at that point, I had discovered the fishing technique, and I began to experiment that, holding positions, initially mostly in the Forex market. And the fishing technique, in case you don't know what that is, but it is essentially imagine that you have a high here, and then the market goes sideways, and then you have a secondary high, and then the market subsequently closes below the low of the secondary high. So I would then argue that whatever stop losses, whatever liquidity had been up here, had been taken, and the moment you close below the low, which you do here, then you should sell short. And so I began to build bigger and bigger position size, and I had some success in FX, but it was the Dow trade in 2015 that that really made it for me. And I don't know if you remember this, but the Dow, I wonder if I can show you the chart. I probably can. Don't know how quickly I can get to that, but if I do it on, say, a 30-minute chart, it shouldn't take too long. See how quickly I can get to 2015. I remember it very vividly because the day I took profit was the day that my mom had a very round birthday, and everybody was together in the family, and unfortunately I had a bit of a rough ride in the press. And my brother and my sister, being them, accused me of stealing the thunder from my mother's birthday, which of course was not all what my intention was. So we're nearly there. So here's 2015, and I had shorted it much earlier up here. It should be said for the record that I had at times taken profit, but as we began to make lower highs, sort of became more and more evident. And I do want to point something out to you here. There's no shortage of stories on YouTube of people who have made fortunes. I know that because I was asked by a gentleman called Jack Swager, who reviewed my book, incidentally, and we spoke about it. And I'm quite happy to say that he really liked my book, Best Loser Wins. And he asked me if I wanted to edit his book, which is his latest. And in that book, you have there's a Swedish trader there. I can't quite pronounce his name, and if you're listening in, or if you ever hear this, just please know I say this with the utmost respect, but I think it's Kvellemeyer, something like that. And he made a tremendous amount of money trading stocks. But what I want to attach to that story is that it isn't just a question of having the right mindset. You also need to have the right opportunity. And if you're trading a market that is just going sideways, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're not going to make anything. So you need that opportunity. But by then, my mind was quite hardened to when there was a trend, I would do the opposite of what a normal trader would do, which would be to take profit. So rather, when the market did become, shall we say, unhinged, I had at that point finally gotten reasonably good at just adding and adding and adding and not looking for a low. Just keep adding and keep adding. And I benefited tremendously from that, because I don't know if you can see this, but that was a move of 1,100 points from the previous Friday's close into the Monday open. And there was just that conviction of, I'm going to hold. I'm just going to keep holding. And that's got very little to do with the technicals and everything to do with having the right kind of mindset. And the only way you build that mindset is just by keep getting knocked back, keep getting up and moving forward. And what we do here in this YouTube channel is a perfect training ground for it. Because in our own little way, I am creating, if you follow what I do, I am creating adaptation in your mind. You get better and better at holding on to your positions and your add-ons. Yeah, I was so proud. When I worked in the city, there was a gentleman called Richard C. And him and I, we would sometimes, hey, how are you doing? And he would attend if I did anything for the brokerage. And he was a lovely man. He's still a lovely man. But he wrote to me last week that, I don't think he wrote that it was the first time. The exact message I have here on my phone. I would love to read it for you. He says, Tom, I feel a sense of pride with this trade. I kept the add-on and I added more. I got trailing stopped out, but it's a really good start. And that to me, it was a gentleman who's now traded for a couple of decades and who's certainly nobody's fool. And it just goes to show that we can all provoke adaptation in our minds, but we can only do it if we decide to do it. And in there lies the real challenge, is that what is it that you decide you want, and what is it that you decide what person you're going to become in the process? Because you have to be the person before you can get the results. I hope that helped you, Camille. Good question. Hi, Tom. Do you continue to trade after the live stream ended? At times I do, Leo. Which period would you suggest for us to trade besides the first hour? If I had a choice, I would trade the US evenings, the final couple of hours. I frequently trade that without you, and I do so with pretty consistent results. Not talking about home runs. The home runs are in the morning, but fairly consistent returns. in the latter part of the trading day. Okay, Sven is saying, could you explain the term halfway line? Sven, it's just me being an arse, okay? Some people will call it a 50% retracement. Others will give it, yeah, I just didn't want to say a 50% retracement, so I just called it the halfway line. But it is a 50% retracement. Yeah, that's all there is to it. George is a question. I have a question regarding the trading hours. Soon we'll be moving from regular trading hours to 23 hours a day, 5 days a week with the new NYSE and NASDAQ starting later this year. What is the view on that? That is a concern. And I think that may again change how we trade. But I also think we need to see how it plays itself out. Am I concerned, George? Yeah, I am. Because what I like about the U.S. Open is that you have this, to borrow a movie reference, Maximus Decimus, he's grinding his hands in the dirt and he's sort of priming himself for battle. And that battle starts at 09:30 a.m. New York time. But what are we going to do if there isn't that build-up energy, that build-up expectation when the market opens? Will it then just fizzle out to being sort of, yeah, I guess that's my concern for us. Now, Paul has said, I'm curious to know if you traded the Nikkei, and if so, how does it compare? No, I haven't traded the Nikkei because Nikkei happens while I am asleep. And while I don't sleep a lot, I do have to sleep. Actually, that's not true. I sleep perhaps more than most people do. So that was a stupid thing to say. I don't want to give people the impression that I don't look after myself, because I do. But Nikkei takes place during the night. And I will go to China now, and I will trade there's Nikkei, and I'll be trading it in front of an audience, and I'll be trading school run. Yeah, so would have been long there. On Friday, I would have been short there. I've been happy for a bit, unhappy, I'm happy. Yeah, it's got a relatively good track record. See if I can try and avoid something like this where you get long and then you get stopped out. Do you see how it just straddles the ranges? In case you don't, let me just make that clear. So let's try and avoid that and have something like that. Tom, what's the percentage win-loss shorting the highs and buying the lows? Statistically, could you short the highs and lows and add this to the SRS and T? Ooh, Jordan, I don't think I can answer that without doing some thorough research. Sorry, my friend. That's too advanced a question to just reel off something. Wouldn't want to give you anything but the best information. Okay, a guy called Abhishek, he says, how you become loss orientated or change your habit to be Tom you are now. Okay, what a great question. I think a little bit of syntax there we have to sort of guess. So I think I would like to write that. Audit. Sense. Audit, to me, is incredibly important. I'd like to give you a very purposeful answer, and I'd like to draw on my own experience, my own life experience. But it isn't an example that goes back 10, 20 years. Nope, I just have to go back last week. Every day for a number of years, I have started the day with a program consisting of core strengthening. So the core is that midsection of your body, and calisthenics. And the purpose of that is to strengthen the entire upper body. Not because I want to walk around on the beach and look like an Arnold Schwarzenegger, but because I have suffered from mid back pain and low back pain and hip pain, probably a combination of because I'm very tall, and also because I have spent a disproportionate amount of my life sitting down in front of a screen trading. And it was suggested to me a couple of years ago that my core section wasn't strong enough. And so religiously, every morning, I have gone through a program. Just even this morning, I was up at 4 o'clock, and I started the first hour and a half was done strength training my back. That's push-ups, squats, and dips, and then planks and side plank. And what else did I do? Then I rode to strengthen the mid back muscles, and then I did pull-ups, front hand and back hand. And the way I do that is I set a timer. I downloaded one of those free countdown timers, the way you can create sets. So I create 20 sets of 20 seconds duration with a 15-second break. And then I write out a program. Okay, I want to do monk hold. Monk hold is basically where you put you lie on your back, and very important that your lower back touches the ground, and then it doesn't arch. It's very Pilates orientated. And then you lift your legs off the ground, and you fist your two hands, and you put them behind your head. So you're almost like a bow almost. And then you hold that for the count of 20, and then you rest. And it's incredibly challenging on the core. But anyway, that's by the by. That's the program. But then last week on Wednesday, I'm training to increase my VO2 max stamina, my VO2 max performance, and I had done a test to assess my, I think it's called tread power. They abbreviated to FTP, and I did that test, which is a 20 minutes and a very high wattage. But I had done it after I had done mitochondria training for approximately an hour and 20 minutes. So I bicycled for an hour and 20, and then I did the 20-minute test. And I had done all the core exercise before, and I was absolutely FUCKED. So I spoke to my physio and my trainer, and they said, dude, you are burning yourself out again. Take a day off. So I decided to take Thursday off. But by Friday morning, I was still really bodily fucked. So I decided not to do anything either. So I had 2 full days off. Then I set the program to start again Saturday. But what I immediately noticed was how my mind was battling me on Saturday morning. It did not want to go and do all the work. And it sort of occurred to me, and I wrote about it because I'm doing research for a second book, but this book is really all about mind training. I made a note of it that establishing a habit requires tenacity, and because the body will always seek towards calorie preservation, always towards energy efficiency, rather than expending the energy, it wants to preserve the energy. And so the note that I made was that you can build up a habit over a long time, but you can basically begin to question it after 2 days. And so for me, audit and discipline is a lifelong quest, and it's one that you never really have a day off. You're always in the war. You're always in the fight, always. And I'm always in the fight in trading, and I don't let up because I can't afford to. And I wasn't always like that. I don't think anybody is necessarily always like that. But as you grow older and wiser, you also begin to realize what's important to you. And it's like Al Pacino says in the movie Any Given Sunday, when you get older, you lose things. But he doesn't really elaborate on what it is that you lose. But I argue, well, perhaps you lose your drive. Perhaps you lose that sense of direction and that sense of purpose. When you and I, we can have a very frank discussion. Why am I doing this in this YouTube? Well, because I feel like I'm contributing. And by getting the message I get, I also feel that I still have a function. I still have a purpose. And that gives me some significance. It gives me a role that I happily fill. But I'm also the kind of person that I don't want to be the general, back in the tent and sending all the soldiers out in the front. I want to go in front. I want to be in front of everybody else and lead the way. And that's something that you sort of grow into. And that's like, well, that's the person I am. And I couldn't have done it without having a sense of audit. It's like, well, how did you do today? Well, I did bloody awful. Well, why did you do awful? Well, let's see. I just didn't feel like it. Okay, let's ask some basic questions. Is it because you keep doing the same thing over and over, so you have adapted so much that you don't get any friction from it anymore? Maybe so. Or did you have a really bad night's sleep? Did you have an argument with your boyfriend, girlfriend? Fill in the blanks. Have you not fueled yourself properly? So I hope that gives you sort of a sense of how we change it. As you know, I have children, and one of them asked me, and that child is way too young to ask that, but the kid asked me, what's the purpose of life? And I said, I think the purpose of life changes on where you are in life and what age you are. So at your age, the only purpose in life you have is to suck up as much information as you possibly can and have a lot of fun and play with all your friends. Because soon enough, you're going to enter into adulthood, and then it's education and job, and then it's house and getting on the social treadmill. And then as you grow older, and you get to your father's age, then it becomes about looking after yourself and make sure that the machinery is working properly, that you're physically capable of responding to the demands of everyday life, putting a suitcase in the upper glove compartment, making sure that you can bicycle for a couple of hours without killing yourself, that you have a well-functioning endocrine system, that you have regular blood tests so nothing sneaks under the radar. I don't know if you know this, but I lost probably my closest friend this year, and if he had regular blood tests, there is just a chance that the prostate issue that he had would have become detected. And so I think the purpose of life, you can quickly adapt to the cliches of the purpose of life is what you make it and la-di-da. But I think it's a highly individual thing, but it belongs to the thinkers. It belongs to the ones that do a sense of audit on themselves and decide what it is that they want and which direction they want to do it. But to me, as I grow older, it's become a lot more about, well, who is the person that I want to become? What does he stand for? That's why it was so interesting for me to study the work of Kobe Bryant, because he had an immense amount of personal problems in his early career, and he decided to create this alter ego called Black Mamba, and it allowed him to go and be another person when he was in a training mode, or he was in a is in a battle mode. Just excuse me 1 second, 1 minute break. Thanks for that. It was just a parcel delivery. So Kobe Bryant for me was someone who generally thought about what is the person I want to be, and then when you listen to subsequent interviews about who he was, what I paid close attention to was when others spoke about that nothing was really left to chance. He was incredibly dedicated to his craft. Man, he was meticulous, and I like that concept, that word, being meticulous. I like that. So good question. All right, let's take another one. Ever tried water kefir? Yes, I have, but I do kombucha, and I also do kefir, and I also do kimchi, and I also do, oh, the Germans are gonna love me for this one, sauerkraut. Yeah, love a little bit of sauerkraut. Very good for the gut. Yeah. And if it get me as half as good looking as karaoke Andy is, and and I get a third of his hair, then result. But probably not. Okay, apparently somebody said that they're setting up in front of Downing Street in London. That's the residency of the Premier. So there's probably going to be an announcement shortly. I'm just wondering what sterling dollar is doing. Right. Marcin has said that the guy that I was talking about is a guy called Christian Kulamaki. Christian, if you ever listen to this, I hope that I pronounced your name correctly. Christian Kulamaki. It's a pretty cool name if you ask me, Kulamaki. Okay. I think there's a lot of questions that come in, but I don't want to overstay my welcome. I just need you to know that a relationship is a two-way street, and I'm grateful for you. So there you go. I liked my defensiveness. I am always concerned when the school run bar is an inside bar. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong time frame here, but so bar 2 was an inside bar. I'm always concerned about it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you take care of yourself, and I will see you later. Lots of love. Bye-bye.